Welcome to the Adhocracy Show. On today's episode,
Norman Rockwell?
propagandist.
Dr. Seuss?
Propagandist.
Walt Disney?
Propagandist. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm David Landeen.
And I'm JD Melville. And welcome to the Adhocracy Show, where we like to geek out about advertising, marketing, art, and design.
Now, we've taken a nice long journey in the world of understanding propaganda. If you're jumping in right now, several weeks ago we started by defining it, discussing good and bad, and covering surprising examples.
Yeah, so if you want to go back and get some of that kind of background on what we're talking about, that would be a good place to start.
We'll wait for you.
Yeah. Just kidding, we won't. We began this journey when we received the comment that we'd all live peacefully if we didn't have propaganda. Now, our goal hasn't been to prove or disprove that statement, but we wanted to further understand the topic and what it meant and what is propaganda really. So that's kind of what we've set out to do.
With the negative use of the term propaganda, it's easy to think that those who create it are evil, warmongering monsters. You know, they're just sitting there like...
Yeah, because when someone says propaganda, that's leftist propaganda. Propaganda has always been kind of something that, it's not evil. It could be used for evil. In fact, we sort of covered some different things last Wednesday that kind of talks about some of this stuff. I mean, with the Ad Council.
Yeah.
So today we're actually going to cover 5 examples of surprising propagandists.
All right, so number 1, Walt Disney.
Disney, no.
Yes. We briefly covered some of the few examples of the great Walt Disney that he contributed in propaganda in our good versus bad propaganda episode. But along with the cartoons De Feu's Face, Saludos Amigos, and Education for Death, Making of a Nazi, Disney Studios was contracted by the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, and the Department of Agriculture and Treasury to create propaganda. And filmed propaganda and insignias were created in different efforts. And during the war alone, over 68 continuous hours of content was created.
68 hours.
If you lined up all the propaganda end to end, it would not exist because you really can't. But it might.
Well, you can because it was, if I remember right, it was 400,000 feet of film.
In propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. If you lit it on fire, you would get really warm.
You would get really warm because that's what happened to Universal. That stuff burns, man.
Anyway, so some of the films created were specifically for servicemen, but were later released because of their popularity.
Yeah, people thought they were interesting, and that's the interesting thing. Walt Disney, people, hold on to the innocent family brand of Disney, and they have done a lot more than outside of that. Some of this stuff was kind of heavy stuff. It was war. It was touching on that. So Donald's been to war several times. Our next example. Now, architecture doesn't really seem to be a common place for propaganda. But it's not uncommon for people to have their own political beliefs outside of their profession. Mm-hmm. This is the case for Phillip Johnson. This renowned American architect is actually known for pieces like the Glass House, the Sculpture Garden in the Museum of Modern Art, the Seagram Building, 550 Madison Avenue, and the Lipstick Building in New York, and many, many more. He was pretty prolific. But he was, in the early parts of World War II, a sympathizer with the Nazis and Germany. He had taken several trips over to Germany and was actually very excited about, the rallies and hearing Hitler, and, even said things like, the invasion of Poland and Normandy weren't as bad as our American news syndicates were saying.
As our propaganda was saying.
So his actions actually garnered so much attention that the FBI started looking for connections between him and the German government, but they actually didn't find any membership in like fascism or the Nazi Party. So as his political ideas, he kind of put those forth and said things, and it actually didn't slow him down in his career. But later in his life, he actually said that his beliefs were unbelievably stupid, and he actually donated a design to the Congregation Knesset Tifereth, Israel, in Port Chester, New York, which is one of the oldest Jewish communities in the U.S.
I feel like that story is eventually going to be a TV show where they find out that he actually was a Nazi sympathizer, and all these buildings held secrets to the something, or I don't know.
Because he also had done some stuff. There were a couple architects that actually helped get out of Germany. There was a lot of people who Miles van der Rohe. There were people who were part of the Bauhaus movement in design that the Nazis and Hitler did not like, and so he had helped people get out of Germany in his profession.
So next up, when you think of the Cat in the Hat, 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish, and green eggs and ham, you don't really think of propaganda, except for I kind of do, because you look at 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. Look, that red fish facing the other way, smug little look on his face. It's communist, communism propaganda right there. Because Dr. Seuss, Theodore Seuss Griesel, known as Dr. Seuss, holds a special place in the hearts of many kids. His career was varied and unique, and for 8 years, from 1940 to 1948, he worked as the chief editorial cartoonist for the New York newspaper PM. And for 2 of those years, he created over 400 propaganda cartoons. These cartoons covered a wide variety of topics, from war bonds to the enemy, from patriotism to propaganda itself, which shows he's done propaganda before. Maybe he did it again. 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish.
I think he may have turned a leaf, maybe a little.
But you look at that book.
All of this stuff was against that kind of stuff. Like his topics were usually kind of
patriotism and
there was one, he had a couple about carelessness and how, like, it shows a car being pumped up by Hitler, like the tire of it, and it's putting in like anti-American stuff and anti-president, and that's kind of interesting. There's actually a site that says Dr. Seuss Goes to War that you can go through and just look at all of these cartoons. It's really interesting.
That is cool.
So comic books have continued to in popularity from the time that they were created to today, and pretty much every movie or TV show, every other one at least, has some kind of tie to a comic book, right? All the popular ones. And being that comic books tend to delve deep into the evils of our current society and, some of our ills, and those superheroes are fighting these kind of ills, superheroes have actually taken up the fight and the message of propaganda to change the world. In fact, Superman has fought racism as an un-American trait.
It is.
Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman helped save kids from landmines and teaching them how to spot landmines in developing countries.
Were these movies or like
comic books? Yeah, actual comic books. And then, they probably did some videos. I didn't find any when I was looking. But
maybe those projectors that like beep. And you go on to the next one.
Beep. But you've also got Batman and Robin and Superman throwing rocks at the Axis leaders. There's even a wonderfully memorable image of Captain America punching Hitler in the face,
which actually happened. True story. That comic book did exist.
So yeah, your superheroes. Whether it was, some of the things were actually propaganda, other things were sort of just situational of the world that they lived in, and so of course, Captain America is going to be fighting Hitler, right?
Of course he is. Why wouldn't he? Though recently he was found to be part of Hydra, so maybe that was all a ruse.
Well, yeah, that was a deep plant.
Okay.
He actually wasn't working for Hydra.
God.
He was hypnotized to think that he was, and there was, yeah.
Okay, good, because
that's the geeky stuff.
All right, last but not least, Norman Rockwell. For years and years, the Saturday Evening Post delighted people with their stories of fiction, nonfiction, features, and cartoons. The bi-monthly magazine was delivered to most middle-class families, and sometimes best remembered by its infamous painter-illustrator, Norman Rockwell, who did a large majority, if not all, of the covers. He did
a lot of them.
A lot of them. But the many illustrations done as a way to whitewash our news with propaganda and patriotism. So basically, a lot of these images were actually just to promote patriotism, to promote America, promote the American way of life.
We had such a dark and heavy world, and things were crumbling around us, and it was sort of like, kids running to the pool carelessly, being in trouble, and everything's happy and everything's America and feeling good.
Even Norman referred to himself as a propaganda stooge. One of his best known pieces would be Rosie the Riveter.
Which is not the Rosie the Riveter that everyone thinks it is.
Not that we can do it, but the
right.
eating sandwich.
She's got a riveting machine on, and she's sitting there, and she's all muscular, and she's eating a sandwich.
Yeah. At one point, she was almost known as Sally the Sandwicher, but didn't have the same tone to it.
That's fake news.
That's an alternative fact. All right. So this piece was to call women to help in the war effort at home, and can still be used today in equal rights movements and just general advertising. Mm-hmm. Norman was actually unhappy with political propaganda that he created, and turned his talents toward racism during the integration of black children in America schools later in his life.
Yeah.
So Norman Rockwell is an amazing painter.
He is.
He's so good at telling stories, and he's one that definitely shows that he was able to, propaganda had such a variety of ways of being told through his paintings. Like whether you agreed with the American way of life type paintings, or whether you agreed with his integration paintings, but he always seemed to have a message in his paintings. Whether that be a good message or a bad message was up to the audience, but he always did try to tell a story. And that's kind of what propaganda is.
Yeah.
And showing a message.
And it's interesting, and not, these are all sort of different examples of people who were propagandists, and they're people that a lot of us love in different ways. And so when we talk about propaganda, especially in today's terms, when it is so negative, it's something that we need to remember and understand what it is, because propaganda is still being used today in good ways, and not just
it's not
the political way that people are pushing.
Yeah, they aren't sitting around wringing their hands together saying, how can I manipulate the world into my evil ways?
Though there probably are some people.
There probably are. But we can't, propaganda isn't black and white. It's not just, it's evil all the time or it's good all the time. It's just a way of communicating a message with the world, and can be used for both good and evil, like everything else.
Yeah.
So we'll let you decide whether we would all live more peacefully, if there wasn't any propaganda in the world. You can go through our videos and then tell us what you've decided.
Yeah, let us know in the comments below if you found these, kind of surprising. If there are people that on this list that you were like, I didn't know that.
What?
As well, if there's someone that that we didn't cover, we'd love to know about that. So put that in the comments below.
Yeah. If you like this video, you should subscribe, because we have a lot more where this one came from, and we'll have a lot more to come. So you should be some of the first ones to find out.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing to our videos. It makes us happy.
Join us on Friday, where we will have our season 2 finale.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
We will be telling dad jokes and trying not to laugh at them.
I don't know how I'm going to do it. I laugh at dad jokes.
Well, they're hilarious.
They are. And I'm a dad, so it's okay.
If you have a good dad joke, you should post it on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, because
we might use it.
Yeah, who knows?
And it's Wednesday. We got to get you over the hump. It's hump day. Hump day! Here's a video for your Wednesday.
Hello and welcome to our podcast on the art of persuasion. Basically, how do we use the rhetorical triangle to persuade, to advertise, and to propagandize?